This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com, home of the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament. At the Susquehanna Valley Country Club, Auto, Home, Life, Business, Boat, Motorcycle, RV, Medicare products. They make sure you're fully insured. They organize your insurance. They do everything they can to save you money. And by the way, the Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament does benefit the greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA. All at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Mike Poorman, my good friend, joins me. Mike, it's so great to have you back on the show. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be welcomed. And I got a dose of Steve Jones yesterday afternoon.
What was I doing yesterday?
You had a wonderful performance as the guest on LeVar Arrington's show.
Oh, yeah.
The tables were turned, Mr. Jones.
Yes, we taped that 3 weeks ago. I didn't know it was out, but yeah, it was taped 3 weeks ago. LeVar and I had a blast. I think the world of the guy.
It was fun to watch, and I'm not getting rid of Jack today, but if you're a decade from now, LeVar may be a good fit in the booth.
He'd be a great fit. He would do a tremendous job. Smart, articulate, knows the game, great instincts. Yeah, but I'm currently happy with the incredible individual I work with now. So,
okay, I'm not trying to get. I'm a big Jack fan, but it was a fun watch. It's on the. I'm going to give Penn State a plug on the new Roar Plus channel, and I just subscribed yesterday.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. LeVar did a great job with it, as did Brenna Mathers, who's the one that helped put it together. So, Mike, it's a media day tomorrow. No questions over the first 2 days are going to be answered here in all this. But what are you looking for specifically in this camp, that can tell you that they're putting themselves on a track?
Good question. I in preparation for Saturday, there's a couple things I do to get ready, and one is a ready list of questions. And everyone's going to ask national championship, and you're going to get the company line, as you should. My question is, what's the vibe inside Lash Building? And it's hopefully it's specific but general enough to get a sense on what. And I know that you're inside the building a lot, but for the folks who cover the team, we are not. So to me, that will how they respond to what the vibe is, as opposed to asking. We know what the goal is, but what's the vibe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's going to be interesting because it's one thing the great Russ Rose always imparted to me, and he had a run of 4 straight years where they won the national championship, and he said a big job for him when he had so many returning players was to impart to them that you are 0-0 and it's a brand new season. Last season doesn't help you. That was always his philosophy, Mike.
Well, it's kind of the Eagles. With the Eagles, right now with Saquon and company, it's, you're not defending champions, you're attacking champions. And although Penn State was literally a play or drive away from the national championship game, because I'm reminded of Terry Smith is so smart, and
yes.
Whenever I'm looking for super insight and historical context, you go to the OG, and one of my favorite lines from him, and I think this goes hand in hand with the vibe, it's The best teams are the player-led teams. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a player-led team. And I'm going to ask you, in some ways, there's similarities to the 86 team where there were, 14, 15 guys came back for a fifth year.
Yeah,
so it's a very mature team, and it's a veteran-driven team, right?
Well, when you sit there and you look at the 85 to 86 team, I think people were surprised at the number of people that came back, starting with Shane Conlon. But there are others that also came back in that team that would have been draft eligible. And after losing the Orange Bowl game, they seem to be committed, that team, to coming back and playing. This has been very much the same story here with so many guys back. And thus, to me, it's their job, Mike, to communicate to the younger players that when James talks about the 1-0, which can be mocked by people from the outside, but there's a reason why he does it especially inside, that they can tell him, hey, look, 1-0 means 1-0, which means if you're playing Northern Illinois, you play them, you got to win the game.
Good clawback on that, Steve Jones. I like that. Just out of the thin air, you just thought of Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they put themselves in a must-win every week after that game. If Notre Dame had lost one more game, they would not have made the playoff.
You're absolutely right.
Because it would have been held against them the entire time. How do you view the backup quarterback situation? And if whomever gets that spot, do you end up, for example, seeing a scenario like the way Drew Aller was used his freshman year?
Yeah, maybe not the very first game when it's super tight like it was at Purdue. But, yeah, you're going to see a lot of both of those guys, and they're so very different. And it's on my ready list of potential stories, and it's really – is it going to be Iowa? What year was that, 21? Or Wisconsin – or was it Iowa 22? Wisconsin of 24. Those are the two extremes, and so which one are you going to be ready for? And Grunk and Smolik are so very different in so many ways. I think you're obviously astute. I think that's a storyline, to use a line from James, that people aren't talking enough about.
The transfer receivers and the tight end situation, how do you view that?
Well, James is all in, obviously, on Dinkins, and I think that the upgrade at tight end, I mean, Tyler could and was willing to do anything, but I think Dinkins is a great, hand-in-the-ground blocker, and, Rapplio is going to be finally healthy. That was a long comeback, and I think Reynolds could be Tyler Warren, and we've seen pieces of it, Tyler Warren Jr. So overall, when you throw in the wide receivers and you throw in Nick and maybe even some of Fat, there are a lot of maybe not A-plus weapons, but there's a lot of A-B weapons, and I think that's going to give Drew much of a greater opportunity to succeed, not having to rely on Tyler.
Well, here's the next part. James talks about ending games on Penn State's terms, which they did, for example, against Boise State and so forth. What does this offensive line mean to the ability to end games on Penn State's terms?
I love this offensive line on so many levels. This offensive line, it may not be Munchak, Farrell, Romano, but there's shades of that because these are big guys. These are smart guys. These are real Penn State guys. These are good guys. These are older guys. They're committed guys. And even James Cooper Cousins, he's a young guy with an old soul. So I think that, this offensive line is underrated. And I think they will have the ability to go like Michigan did a couple years ago, right? If they have to run 32 straight running plays, they can get it done. This offense, I'm thinking, well, on my story list, Steve, for Saturday, and this is not a cheerleader. This is the truth. I love this offensive line, and it's a, you know them. This is a great group of guys with massive potential
and depth,
and great camaraderie too, which is so key at that position.
And depth. You can't negotiate a 16-game season, because we just watched a 16-game season, where if you don't have depth, you're not going to have a shot. I mean, look, K.J. Winston lasted 5 quarters last year.
Well, you know, Ryan Day, I heard the quote twice from him. Ryan Day, when he was talking about the effects of the season, he said exactly what you did, is the depth. And they've lost early and then late. They lost 2 great offensive linemen, Ohio State, and still won the national title.
That's
so
right.
I think that depth, that retention, that injury, you know, Ohio State is the perfect comp for that. They worked their way through that.
All right, so how interested are you to hear what Jim Knowles says about his defense and about his players that he's plugging into the defense now that he's had a spring and a couple of practices to plug some things in?
I want to hear what he has to say about the linebackers.
Yeah.
Dom is always Dom, but Campbell's new, and, you know, by all indications, for the first time in maybe a year almost, Tony Rojas is healthy. So I'd love to hear his assessment. And there's other guys, but those are the main 3. I'd love to hear his assessment of what he thinks of that unit.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because when you do get a chance to see Campbell, let me tell you what sticks out about him right away. Just looking at him. I don't mean just playing, because I know he can play, but how thick his legs are. I mean, my goodness, it's Mike. It's you're like, holy mackerel. It's a little different look at linebacker compared to some other guys. Everybody's built differently, but still. What about the secondary, which has been such a positive for Penn State over the years? How do you mentioned Terry Smith. How do you look at that?
Well, let me ask you one more thing about Campbell, because you've seen him. You've been at the practices so far. Is there a comp for this kid? Can you think of a comp?
No, he's his own guy. I mean, you know, I saw him play some at North Carolina, especially in the Minnesota game, because I definitely watched that game. He had a couple of sacks in that game, so he has a burst to get through the hole and get to the quarterback. I thought he played the run pretty well. And I know at the end of the year he was actually playing better than at the beginning, because at the beginning of the year he was a bit banged up. But I think he's definitely, with Wiley, with DeLuca, with Rojas, with Specca, and others, Penn State actually has some depth at linebacker, and he helped improve. In my opinion, Mike, he helped improve it.
Well, Specca's an interesting wild card too. But the secondary, yeah, they're deep, and Knowles is going to do a lot of things with them. I'm really interested in watching King Mack. I love to watch him when he was here 2 years ago. I mean, athletic and exciting, and so I'm excited to see him in practice. I'm excited to see how he interacts. And it's kind of, for me, it's a cool storyline, right? I mean, this kid left, and he left for a name brand. And then he's coming back with his eyes wide open. You know, the grass is not greener, or the grass isn't redder down there. So I love, and I know you talked to LeVar about that, I think that's a very cool storyline.
No, it is a very cool storyline without question. How close a look have you taken of the stadium, the part that they're building, especially the temporary part? And if you have seen it, what did you think of it?
Thanks for asking. I'm a big walker, so at least twice a week I'll walk on campus, and I take little videos that I post on Twitter of the progress at the stadium. In the past week, maybe the last 10 days, they've put almost all the temporary bleachers up and the lighting. but the traffic, the interest of folks, like I'll post a 26-second video. This is what the stadium looks like today. I'll get 30,000, 40,000 views. So there's intense interest in that. I am the comments, and even me, as you look at the temporary bleachers that are up, they're free form. I'm anxious to see a couple things. What happens during the whiteout? And then this is a small one, but it's not exactly a bowl. There are gaps. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, it's not going to come into play early, but I'm wondering if the gaps on the west side with the temporary bleachers, that's going to create a different atmosphere, not only among the fans, but literally among the wind, whether that's an impact in the stadium, because you well know from your vantage point, and I got a question about your vantage point, that with the bowl, the winds are contained to a certain degree.
Right.
And by the way, where is your vantage point going to be, Steve Jones?
It's going to be on the west side. They're building a temporary broadcast area for TV and the radios, including the opposing team radio. And so we should be just above the old permanent seating. So we should be it's actually a little bit lower than we were before. So that's what we'll be for 2 years. And then they're going to build a broadcast level in this new building that they're going to be putting up.
I'm excited by all that, I have to tell you.
Oh, I know. Believe me. I think Chris Wheeler, who did the Phillies for 37 years, and Chris and I are really, really good friends. And when they brought the press box down, and ironically, I had to go to Philadelphia because I had to do basketball the next day.
I love Wheels.
Wheels is the greatest, isn't he? And Wheels sent me a text, and he said, Steve, he says, how did you feel when the press box went down? Did you feel some nostalgia, or did you feel the same way when I saw the vet in rubble? And my response was the vet in rubble. Like I always would tell the other broadcasters, I said, hey, look, I know it's not your favorite, but it's our home. So, not going to criticize our home.
Well, it had to be WDFM, right?
Sure.
70-something that you called your first game from the press box?
Yeah, it would have been Texas A&M 1979. Curtis Dickey and Texas A&M. It's the first game I called.
I remember early in the season, a super sunny day. Yep. Wow.
He ran for 184 yards, a couple touchdowns. Penn State actually scored first, led the game 7-0. And then Texas A&M took over. But that was the first game I ever did. So, it's a long time ago.
That's crazy. Well, you've seen a thing or two, but it is exciting. Even if it's a cramped venue, smaller or whatever.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
And then you throw in this season. I've been working on a piece comparing this to 82 to 86 to 94. There's some interesting comparisons there.
Yeah, no, there is, without question. So, hey, we'll see how this plays out. It's a lot of fun, Mike. It's always a pleasure having you on. Because you always give such an interesting perspective, and you're so curious about everything, which is really cool. So, appreciate it.
Well, I know that's you. Anyway, tell LeVar that, yes, if and when Jack retires, I'm putting him forth to be your partner in the booth.
There you go. Okay, I'll let him know that.
All right. See you, buddy. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Mike Poorman joining us on the show today in this half hour, being brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. Medicare products. They want to make sure you're fully insured. They want to make sure they do everything in their power to to save you money. And, of course, they always give back to the community. The Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament at the Susquehanna Valley Country Club to benefit the Greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
There's something to be said about a sale with a handshake, a service technician who really knows what he's doing. They can explain it in English what the problem is. There's nothing better than having that friend you could trust in the area. That's Sunbury Motors, where you get selection, knowledgeable salespeople, and prices that fit your budget, and more important, that friend you can trust. Welcome to Sunbury Motors, Kia, Ford, and Hyundai. You could shop other dealers and compare prices, but at Sunbury Motors, you get their lowest price promise. They research the current used vehicle market and guarantee their used car prices are the lowest. If you find a lower price, Sunbury Motors will beat it. 3 dealers all in one. See their full new and pre-owned inventory at sunburymotors.com. Pick out a vehicle you like and schedule your test drive online. Follow them on Facebook. Sunbury Motors Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the Greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.